This session we will discuss emerging technologies in nursing informatics. At the end of this session, you will be able to describe some of today's state-of-the-art technologies and predict the evolution of technology and its impact on knowledge generation in nursing. Anyone reckless enough to try to predict the future holds himself or herself hostage to fortune as soon as the words are documented. Many nursing colleagues have written about the future of nursing and about the challenges and changes that will affect nursing or that nursing might influence. This session presents an optimistic view of the future, one that some critics might say is unwarranted. It envisions a future with a high degree of continuing technological development and general worldwide economic growth, and an absence of some of the possibilities that might bring much of the global infrastructure crashing down. The literature assumes there will not be widespread global social breakdown. The predicted possible pandemics of avian and swine influenza and other problems will not happen, and catastrophic climate change will not produce as rapid effects as the worst predictions suggest. However, we are aware that many of these things could happen to some degree or other. Change is coming, and much of it is far enough advanced to be virtually unavoidable. Technology will not solve all future problems. Some emerging technologies could create more problems than they solve. However, it is by having an awareness of likely impossible technological developments that one can assess how they may affect the ways in which we work and live, and whether the many issues can be addressed. Visions of society of the future, both utopias and dystopias, have been produced by many people. Sometimes they have been science fiction writers, whereas futurologists have used scenario planning to examine possible alternatives for the future and consider how they might be achieved or prevented and the implications for society. This technique was used in part in the Nursing Informatics 2006 Post-Congress Workshop, but other useful scenarios that demonstrate possible emerging technologies also exist. Some brief examples of the kinds of what-if thinking that may be helpful in exploring the implications of emerging technologies include the following. Googlezon, formed from a merger of Google and Amazon, used fact-stripping robots to create personalized news stories dynamically for delivery to health information portal subscribers, so for patients, nurses, and family caregivers. Personalized genoming, which is the sequencing of an individual's genome, was a routine procedure. Biomedical research institutes had only executives and intellectual property lawyers as part of their permanent staff, with all the actual research outsourced and conducted under contract in India and China. Google Health allowed individuals to store privately or publish their own health information, combining diverse information provided by patients, their own monitoring devices, and records supplied by hospitals, pathology, imaging services, and the general practitioner. Google's health search engines and social networking spaces allowed people to explore information held in virtual populations of individuals who were genetically or behaviorally like themselves, so they could actually see health trends in these populations that had real or direct meaning to their lives and adopt the best practices of their virtual peers so as to derive the same health benefits. In many countries, and not just the United States, much of the recent focus of technology use in nursing and healthcare has been aimed at improving patient safety, for example, reducing medication errors, among others. They point out, however, that only limited research provides evidence of the impact of introducing these technologies on error reduction and the reduction of adverse events. The recent effort in the United States directed toward developing meaningful use of electronic health records has re-emphasized this focus. This perhaps reflects two interacting sets of issues. One, priorities for use of technologies often change in conjunction with changing political forces, And two, many technologies are changing so rapidly that by the time they are evaluated in a large-scale controlled trial environment, they have been succeeded by a new generation of devices and applications. Patient safety issues are a strong driver to using technology today and will probably continue to be so as long as politicians see benefit from such a focus. However, as other priorities, often political, emerge, the focus will shift. One can already begin to see some of this changing focus with the emergent discussions on personal health records. Even the most cursory examination of the proceedings of any recent health or nursing informatics conference reveals the plethora of ways in which nurses are currently using a wide range of technologies to support and advance their practice. One can also begin to see the adoption of the kinds of near-transparent, ubiquitous technologies just discussed. Take examples from recent events by way of illustration from the Nursing Informatics 2006 International Congress on Nursing Informatics. One can find examples from around the world of the following: computerized decision support systems to prevent unnecessary visits to healthcare facilities in South Africa, wireless speech recognition and touchscreen triage support systems in emergency departments in Taiwan, nurse-managed telehealth services in the United Kingdom dermatology clinics, use of open-source software for development of web-based nursing informatics education in Germany, nurse-led development of personal health record system in the United States, and demonstrated uses of wireless biomedical sensors for invasive monitoring in Norway. More recently, the Nursing Informatics 2009 International Congress on Nursing Informatics provided examples of technologies to support online knowledge management for e-health, use of virtual environments for education and clinical practice, and mobile e-health applications. Several nursing informaticians have ended their books by looking into the future and imagining scenarios for the life and work of the 21st century nurse. McCormick in 2001, writing a possible scenario for 2020, envisioned the nurse using voice recognition to interact with his or her computer, portable of course, and with components of the hospital system, telehealth applications for physiological monitoring, use of genetic screening information in treatment decisions, and smart cards for storing a form of electronic health record. Today, well before 2020, of course, many of these applications have become almost routine. The growth of networks, especially the internet, means that we have already moved beyond some of the ideas in our development of the ways of working. Ball in 2005 advocated the use of technology including wireless networks and personal digital assistants to reduce the time spent on documentation and so potentially increase the time available for direct patient care. She perceives technology as supporting new roles such as use of an internet guide to assist patients in accessing appropriate educational resources. McCormick et al. In 2007, in discussing the American Medical Informatics Association Nursing Informatics Workgroup's white paper on how the nursing informatics profession needs to set new directions, identified many areas that will influence the nature of nursing and healthcare in the future, although many of these were actually non-technological. Among the key issues that emerged from the discussions that are important for the International Nursing Informatics Committee to explore in coming years were the following: the development of the concept and a possible model of U-nursing, ubiquitous nursing, which has implications for all of the practice of nursing and profound implications for all aspects of the education and continuing professional development of nurses. One area that showcases the professional development of nurses is the e-portfolio. The role of the nurse changing to become more of a knowledge professional working in partnership with patients and other caregivers, the continuing growth of patient informatics, perhaps as an outgrowth, and the evolution of current concepts of consumer health information with the increasing centrality of the patient as the controlling force in the entire enterprise. And lastly, the vast impact that genomics will have on all aspects of life, and in particular, healthcare. For many years, the concept of e-health has existed, a term for which O, Risen, Enken, and Girard in 2005 had identified 51 unique published definitions. These definitions address not only health, but also technology and commerce, with a general tendency for healthcare to be viewed as a process rather than health as an outcome, and with technology seen as both a tool to enable a process, function, or service, and as a means to expand, to assist, or to enhance human activities rather than a substitute for them. The European view of e-health, as developed by the Commission of European Communities in 2004, acknowledged the need for providing citizen-centered healthcare systems respecting the diversity of Europe's multicultural, multilingual healthcare traditions. Examples of e-health developments include electronic health records, health portals, telemedicine and telehealth services, and wearable and portable monitoring systems. There is also a discussion of whether society is shifting from a focus on information to a focus on knowledge. Generally considered to have succeeded the industrial age, an era known as the information age is characterized by information use resulting in wide-ranging social activity. This trend is manifested by the increasing popularity of applications such as Facebook, MySpace, and Twitter. These and other social media applications are increasingly becoming tools for healthcare organizations and patients. Developing and sustaining a community of practice in the work environment is beyond the main scope of this session. However, educators in particular and nurses need to understand how the effective collaboration skills that learners acquire in learning communities during their formal education may promote the development of communities of practice in students' future professional lives. As the web-based tools continue to evolve, they are supporting online communities of practice, also known as virtual communities of practice. The following is a brief overview of this important and emerging trend for work in this knowledge area. Wenger, in 2006, defines community of practice as communities of practice are groups of people who share a concern or passion for something they do and learn how to do it better as they interact regularly. He suggests that community of practice have three important characteristics. 1, the domain, 2, the community, and 3, the practice. Wenger defines the domain as a shared interest about which people are passionate and for which they possess some competence related to the domain. The community aspects relates to the joint activities that are undertaken by the group to build relationships and knowledge about the domain. The practice aspect signifies that the members of the community are practitioners of something, and through community of practice, develop and share resources, knowledge, and solutions to the problem. The recent improvements of internet-based communications technology has the potential to promote the global expansions of community of practice. Nursing is a profession that is particularly well suited to the development of communities of practice, especially in light of the new knowledge generated and disseminated every day. The many nursing listservs are evidence of the growing trend towards sharing knowledge in a community of practice. Caring, now ANYA, or the American Nurses Informatics Association, is a nursing informatics organization, has a very active listserv through which members post questions to other members and request information and experiences related to informatics. For example, a member of the listserv might ask others about their experiences related to specific issues in implementing a barcode medication administration system or about training procedures for implementing an electronic health record. One of the difficulties of using a listserv as a community of practice is that the discussion is not moderated. Many threads could be running simultaneously. An example of a well-organized and global community of practice is the Cochrane Collaboration, an international organization that promotes and supports collaboration among healthcare professionals to develop evidence-based practice recommendations for healthcare interventions. A nursing practice council within a healthcare organization is another example of a community of practice. In the future, it is hoped that the use of community of practices in nursing will grow beyond knowledge sharing and promote more knowledge discovery and sense-making. Caring is now Anya, American Nursing Informatics Association. Today's information technology infrastructure allows users to easily build web-based collections that include evidence of their knowledge and skills. Users can upload artifacts that represent evidence of their learning experiences both inside and outside the classroom. Electronic portfolios or e-portfolios may also contain a blog element where students reflect on their total experience and demonstrate growth in their areas. E-portfolios can be built using a range of different technologies. Some individuals use PowerPoint presentations to capture and present evidence. Web-based e-portfolios are built using common web publishing tools to create web pages such as Web 2.0 or open source tools. The web pages are then published on the internet. In addition, an increasing number of institutional e-portfolio systems have emerged which users can log in and then upload, enter, and share information or evidence related to their experiences. Although academic institutions may use e-portfolios for assessment of student learning, for the individual, e-portfolios are all about opportunity. Such opportunities might include supporting a working relationship with a mentor, networking with other professionals, or representing certain qualities and characteristics to prospective employers. In all of these cases, having gone through the process of developing an e-portfolio requires critical examination of which qualities make individuals who they are and why these qualities are important to them and their profession. It is important for all professionals to have a foundational understanding of where they are in their career trajectory and how this fits into their long-term professional goals. Practically speaking, e-portfolios are efficient. When introducing oneself in an email message, a self-starting individual who's taking the initiative to develop and publish an e-portfolio can add this line to the message. Here is a link to my e-portfolio. The recipient can click on this link, which automatically opens that individual's e-portfolio in a web browser. Metaphorically, the senders of such messages have just walked into the recipient's office with information that illustrates who they are, what they know, what they can do, and what they value as important. They just have walked in with what could be a multimedia showcase of their qualities. The internet is a very powerful communication medium, and individuals with professional e-portfolios are simply taking advantage of this fact. Using an e-portfolio to support professional networking involves a predetermined and focused purpose. This purpose may be to foster better communication between oneself and a mentor, or it may be to establish how what a nurse is doing fits with the goals of the institution and perhaps an institution for which the individual would like to work. A professional e-portfolio is evidence-based and uses this evidence to make a case that highlights the individual's capacity not only to perform, but also to grow and develop professionally within his or her chosen field. The e-portfolio process has 4 steps involved in developing an e-portfolio. These are recursive in nature, meaning that during the process one can backtrack to fill in missing pieces or reevaluate earlier decisions that were made. The 4 steps are 1, collect, 2, select, 3, reflect, and 4, connect. Let us look at these in more detail. Collect. Evidence should demonstrate what a person knows, what he or she can do, and the values that the person holds as being important. When it comes to developing e-portfolios, it is important to think of evidence in very broad terms. This evidence might include the results of what someone has learned in courses taken as a student, especially in terms of demonstrating a new skill or increased knowledge of a subject. More importantly, evidence can come from experiences that take place outside of the classroom. For instance, someone may have been involved in an internship or clinical observation where he or she had the opportunity to connect with what was learned in the classroom with how this information is applied in the real-world setting. Not only is such an experience valuable, but it also represents the individual's understanding of how this knowledge can be applied. Thus, it enhances others' perceptions of the depth of what the person knows. Resumes are evidence documents. Select. Everyone has his or her own unique pool of evidence from which to pull, and over time this evidence pool can become quite large. What will someone choose to feature and why? Putting together a professional e-portfolio requires that 2 intertwining questions related to the purpose and audience be addressed. What is the purpose? And what is it that someone is attempting to gain by putting an e-portfolio together? Is the purpose related to personal development, for example, feedback and advice about professional direction that is being taken? Is the purpose to connect to colleagues? An individual, for example, may be interested in using his or her e-portfolio to find a job or to gain admission into a graduate program. Although an e-portfolio can link to everything that a person has accomplished, this may not be the best strategy. Instead, it is essential that an individual consider the audience and establish a plan that enables the person to select the most appropriate pieces of evidence for his or her particular purpose and audience. A helpful way to start is to select the top 5 pieces of evidence that support the plan. Next, the individual should consider why he or she selected these pieces of evidence, what it is about each piece of evidence that makes it representative of who the individual is, what he or she knows, what he or she can do, and what he or she values as important. Reflect, or reflection and reflective commentary, take an e-portfolio to the next level. This component may take the form of a single reflective statement, or it may be attached to the evidence throughout the e-portfolio. Reflective comments should open up a window into why an individual thinks this evidence is important, the ways in which the individual values what he or she learned, or why the person thinks it is important for the larger profession. For instance, the individual may present an experience where he or she was challenged to provide assistance. Describing this experience would be important. However, the reflective comments can extend this description, enabling the person to talk about the alternatives considered as the basis for how he or she made the decision to provide the specific type of assistance and the manner in which it was provided. By itself, a description of this experience is good. With reflective comments, readers have much more thorough perception of and insight into an individual's professional thinking. This is where having a blog element as part of an e-portfolio becomes extremely powerful. Lastly, number 4 is connect. The connection and feedback step is important to validate the assertions someone makes about what he or she knows, understands, or values. Individuals may choose to receive feedback from those who are close to them, and from here reach out to others who may provide different perspectives. For instance, if a nurse was thinking about using his e-portfolio to apply for a position, he might want to start by first getting feedback from friends and family. He might also share his e-portfolio with a mentor or faculty, raising the bar by getting professionally grounded feedback before sharing the e-portfolio with a prospective employer. There are doubtless many other technologies that might be covered and some that readers will say should have been covered. Not addressed here are the prospects for robotics in delivering aspects of healthcare, even though there are well-documented examples of robotic surgery and even robots for delivering nursing care. Similarly, not explored here are the possibilities of emerging virtual worlds, such as Second Life and simulations. Also unaddressed are many of the technologies such as wearable devices that are being used to provide remote monitoring of physiologic parameters in care settings, including patients' own home. These are certainly interesting and exciting developments, and one can only plead the excuse of lack of space for omitting them. Students are urged to undertake their own explorations of these and other technologies. A short wish list for some new technologies that would like to be seen emerge in the next few years conclude this exploration. As with much of what was discussed previously, the seeds of these developments are already present and they may be with us sooner than expected. Our technology wish list includes the following items: a computer interface used in the film Minority Report. No mouse, no keyboard, just gesture-based interactions with virtual images projected into a vertical space at head height. Uniqueness of computational devices to the extent that conversation and discussion of these devices will disappear from everyday social interactions. The technology will be transparent or invisible. 3, the ability to access information when and where it is wanted or needed, irrespective of the modality. Thereby, this maximizes mobility and other personal resources. This may lead to cell phones becoming the main avenue of access for more than text messages, speech, and video clips. Knowledge acquisition and use will then become unique and pervasive. New work roles will emerge to cope with this new and different technology. We now know that the future will be different. However, it is likely that in the foreseeable future, let's say the next 10 to 15 years, many of the changes that are likely to occur are already in development or will be extrapolations of current developments and trends. There is always, however, the possibility of new developments or unexpected consequences of the development of emerging technologies. In an ideal world, we would like to see solutions to see the development of easy-to-use tools for nurses to manage the coming knowledge explosion as more information becomes available to support diagnosis, treatment, and care.